Hello and welcome to Shannon Gardens. Thank you guys so much for joining me. So in this week's video, I'm focusing on sprucing up my front entryway area. We have Halloween coming up here soon, so I wanted to decorate out there as well as do some in-ground planning for the upcoming fall and winter season, which will carry me through both of those seasons. So I want to share with you guys how I'm decorating, what I'm decorating with, and what I'm planning. All right, you guys, so with that, let's get to it. So the first thing we have to do is visit a pumpkin patch to choose our pumpkins and our gourds that we want to decorate with. And there are so many to choose from. I always end up finding way too many that I need, but we ended up finding what we wanted and bringing those home with us. All right, so I wanted to share with you guys the flowers that I'm going to be planting in ground and in containers. And I did want to preface and say that I chose colors that I thought would be appropriate for fall and winter for me. They're colors that I really like and I like for both seasons. Now, I have to say, it was really hard to walk by these beautiful orange and yellow pansies that I saw at a local nursery that I went to the other day that looked great for the Halloween and fall season. And I thought, oh my gosh, that would be perfect. And I should plant those in ground. But I knew that those were not the colors that I wanted for the holiday season. So in an effort to just purchase once and use the flowers that would be appropriate for both, I chose these next plants. So first, I have these red snapdragons, and just look how pretty that is. Now this is called, I'll pull out the tag here, these are Snapdragons Snaptastic Red. I absolutely love these. I first planted snapdragons last year. That was the first time I had ever planted them, and I absolutely love them. They did really well in my area. I'm in Georgia in zone 7B 8A, and they did really well. They bloomed off and on throughout the winter and then into spring. And I actually kept some of my snapdragons that I had from fall of last year and then spring of this year and kept them over summer. Just kind of put them in more of a shady area so they wouldn't get overheated by the sun. And they are starting to bloom again now. Now, I'm not using those in today's video, but I probably will in the next couple weeks be separating those and planting them in containers, and I'll show those to you guys. But I really had good luck over the summer. I was so excited to keep those alive and now have them blooming this year. So very excited about the Snapdragon. Oh, and I did want to mention that I do have a Snapdragon video that I did last year where I share a bit more information about Snapdragons. I'll put a link to that video in the description, as well as the link to my next flower, which I also did a video on, and that was on pansies and violas. Now, I'm not planting violas today. I will be doing that probably in the next couple of weeks, but I am doing pansies. So I've got this pansy here, which is the Inspire Deluxe White. And then I also have this pansy here. Just look at that vibrant color. And that one's called Delta Pro Neon Violet. It's practically glowing. So my intention is to plant these three together. I'll just show you guys here. The red and then the purple and the white. And I really think that those colors, for me anyway, are appropriate for fall and winter. I like them all, and I think that these should go together quite nicely. Now, I did mention that I'm not planting violas today, and that's because I'm focusing on planting in my front yard. And so I really generally choose pansies for the front yard. Not always, sometimes I do a mix, but I generally choose pansies for the front yard because they have that bigger bloom. And so it really makes more of an impact, and you can see it from further away. So that's really my reasoning for it. I actually love violas, and so I will be doing those in the next couple weeks, but we'll be doing those more in containers and hanging baskets. So for today's video though, I've got my pansies. So I'm going to take you guys out front and show you what I got and kind of put everything together and get to planting and then show you the end result. All right, so let's go. Unfortunately, my microphone went out when I was explaining about the pumpkins, but I wanted to tell you guys that these are the pumpkins that we did choose from the pumpkin patch. We have different gourds here, which I absolutely love, getting the different textures and colors of gourds and pumpkins. You can see here that these two pumpkins really were very unique to me. I think they're heirloom pumpkins, and they just have all these different bumps, and I think it's so cool to include pumpkins like that in your display for the Halloween season. And then we chose pumpkins that we were more inclined to carve. So the two in the back really were the ones that we were thinking about carving. And then I have these mums that I purchased probably a couple of weeks ago from Costco for $17 or about $17, I believe. And they were already pre-planted in their container. And it's such a big display and they look so healthy that I went ahead and picked those up and am using that as the backing for our carved pumpkins. And then I've got a flat of the red snapdragons and the white pansies and purple pansies, and I'll be placing them mostly in this in-ground area here. I've got a dwarf butterfly bush that you can kind of see in the back there as the backdrop. Now I've cleaned out this area. It had zinnias in it before and geraniums, so I just cleaned those out. And I'll be planting my snapdragons first in the back because they're taller than the pansies. And I'll kind of do 2 rows of that in a staggered form. So as they fill in, it'll look nice and full. And then in front of the snapdragons, I'll be planting my purple and white pansies. So when I'm first starting to decorate, I kind of like to get the bones of the decorating done first, and it takes a lot of iterations for me to do this, but eventually I get it. Now here you can see that I've moved that long stem orange pumpkin up, and I've found a piece of wood to place that on because I was afraid of the stability and that pumpkin kind of sinking. So I found just a piece of wood lying around, placed that underneath the pumpkin, and then my plan is to fill in around the area with the snapdragons and the pansies. And like I said, I really go through a lot of different placements to make sure that I'm happy with how that looks. But I'm thinking that the way that it curves, that when you're walking up the walkway, you want to follow that curve. And so I'm planning to the curve of the container and of the walkway. So here I have my second container that I'll be planting, and I'm just going to carry through the snapdragons and the pansies in this container. This is one that I'm definitely replanting for the holidays, so I'll be relocating the snapdragons and pansies here in the next month or so anyway, but I'm going to go ahead and carry that through for now. And then here I'm just planting the snapdragons in the back for that height and then filling in with the pansies in the front. All right, so I have my front planting done in ground, and we've got the snapdragons back here, that pretty red color, and then the purple and white pansies in front of that. Now this is right by the front walkway, so this is what greets you as you wrap around. And then we have the containers that continue these colors and flowers through the front porch as well. My first container here, which has the pumpkins and gourds stacked at the base. Then I'll show you the planting. So I've got the long stemmed smaller pumpkin placed in there, and then I have the gourd in front of it, and it's wrapped with the pansies and then backed with the snapdragons. So my thought is that once I'm done with the fall decorating, I can take this pumpkin out and put something else in here, maybe one other little plant that gets taller, and so that should be pretty easy to replace, and then just leave everything, with the exception of this gourd, I'll just leave everything as is and maybe tuck in another plant here. Then I have the 3 pumpkins here. You can see that I took out that third orange pumpkin that I originally had and put the white one there, and then it's backed with the mums. We have our skeleton in the rocking chair. This is where he normally resides, and the eyes actually glow. We only turn that on Halloween, but it's really, really cute. And so we always have him sitting in the rocking chair. And then I placed a couple smaller pumpkins on our little tables here. I've got one, and then I've got the other one right here. Then I have my last container planted. So I've got the snapdragons in the back with that height, and then the purple pansies in front, and then white tucked in the front. And like I said, this one will actually be replaced here as we get closer to the holidays, but I'll just replant these somewhere else. I may actually move them to another container I have on this front porch that still has some blooming annual lantana, so I don't have the heart to pull it up yet. So I may just move these plants to that once the lantana fizzles out here in the next month or so. Now, one thing I did want to point out with this, if you guys have a tall, thin pot like this or container, instead of filling it all up with soil, I just have it filled up with different things to keep it kind of heavy on the bottom. But I did not fill it up with soil, and I found a pot or a container that fits inside here. The diameter fits in the square where it stays up, and that's actually what I plant. So I just find that that's easier in these type of planters than actually filling it all the way up. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to get the front entryway decorated, at least for the fall season. And like I said, I'll be changing out, obviously, some of those decorations as we head into the Christmas season. And I'll share those changes with you guys and how I decorate for the holidays as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much again. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you can be notified each time I upload a new video. All right, you guys, until next time, happy gardening and goodbye.